Good morning. Welcome to the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Barbara Kane, a licensed spiritual practitioner, and this is our morning meditation. And for this morning's reading, I'm going to read a treatment for health and wellness. Since this is the month of the body, I thought this would be a great way for us to go into meditation. So I'll read the treatment, and then we'll have silent meditation for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then I'll do a short closing statement. So I want you to join me if you'd like and take a deep breath and release it and relax into your chair, the floor, the couch, your bed, wherever you're sitting. Take another deep breath. And as you let it out, just release any tension, any thoughts. And now I'll read the treatment. There is one mind, one power, one divine presence that is all knowing, all powerful, and everywhere. I am stepping into the awareness that I am a divine center that is characteristic of who or what I am. Therefore, I choose to see that truth come forth into expression as a new way of being by stepping into a vivid demonstration of what it is to set oneself fully and completely as a divine center, allowing the wonders of many ideas to unfold with ease and grace. I choose to bring forth, expressing in this very moment, a physical manifestation of my bodily form being energetic, flexible, strong, and divinely proportioned. I walk with ease. I step gratefully and gracefully into all activities that my heart desires. I run, I walk, I dance, I play with ease. Everything that I move towards unfolds beautifully. I am aware that I am a well of joy and light, of peace, and truly an abundance of love. I love this life. My lungs are so strong, my breath deep, and all my hormones and DNA support this truth. I really appreciate being aware of my divine center. I am beautiful, loving, joyful, powerful, full of life, and a light unto the world. I am filled with peace, knowing that these truths about my being are good. Life is good. I appreciate this. I accept this truth, and so it is. And now let's close our eyes and sit peacefully in the silence for a few minutes. back into your bodies and back into the room. And just take a breath. Wiggle your hands and your feet, your fingers and your toes. And I recognize in this moment the one infinite love, infinite light, that spirit of God that is in, as, and through each of us. And I'm so thankful and grateful to know that we live and move and have our being in this wonderful spirit. And I'm grateful and thankful to know that I'm experiencing this life in this magnificent, self healing, continuously regenerating, beautiful body. And I know that you all are too. And I invite you to enjoy the rest of this morning, the rest of this day, and a day filled with love and joy. And I also invite you to join us for our service at 10:15. Thank you for being here for this meditation.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. We're so very glad that you have decided to include us in your day, whether or not you're here live and in person at Sophie's Grill and Bar, or whether you've invited us into your home through the power of live streaming. Thank you so very much. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dusty Rippelmeyer, and I have the privilege and the honor of being this community's spiritual director. We are part of a larger organization called Centers for Spiritual Living. We embrace new thought and ancient wisdom teachings, and through them, we believe in a practical spirituality that we can use to create the life that we really want to live. We are a powerful spiritual community, lovingly committed to a world of acceptance, compassion, peace, and joy. We gather together from here at Sophie's Grill and Bar or from our homes every week to express love, practice radical acceptance and inclusion, and to connect with one another. What we are really about is providing a supportive community where we can explore our own spirituality and connect to the divinity and the wisdom that is within each and every single one of us. We welcome all of you that have been attending our services or our classes or our special social events. And we also welcome those of you that are visiting us for the very first time. We see you, we know who you are, we appreciate you, and we love you. We're really grateful that you have chosen to include us in your day today. Now, so as you can see, I am wearing my special pride tie, and on this, the last Sunday of Pride Week, I just wanted to let everybody know that yesterday we had a booth at Out Raleigh, and which is the annual Pride Festival that the Triangle area holds. It was really an amazing day. There was lots of love and lots of joy and lots of laughter and lots of communication with some really amazing human beings, people that are really, really about the business of unabashedly and unapologetically and unequivocally being exactly who they are and who they have come here to be. And it was miraculous to behold and really joyful to be a part of. I would like to thank from the fullness of my heart each and every person who gave of their time and talent to assist us in the setup and the taking down of our booth and also the staffing of it throughout the day. This includes Deb Bird, Heather Abbott, Jim Rigsby, Casey Calnan, Ava Ladocha, Susan Ed and Edward Krupa, Tina Sarcia Maxwell, and Maya Lisa and Dave Presley. So your presence there was greatly appreciated, and we love you. So thank you very much for being there. Our flower dedication is from me, and it's dedicated to the 2022 TCSL Meditation Retreat Facilitators. A couple of weeks ago, we've been had so many things going on since then, but a couple of weeks ago, over Memorial Weekend, we had our annual meditation retreat, and it was an amazing weekend. It was filled with the weight of the divine. It consisted of moments of deep connection with each other, deep communion with the divine, and lots of laughter. The truth is that none of it would have been possible if it wasn't for the team that helped, that assisted me to facilitate it. So today's flower dedication goes out to Heather Abbott, Susan Robinson, Ava Ladocha, Carol Cross, and Hardy, who brought the depth of their consciousness and their love of this community to everything that they did, and everything that they did was a lot. So I appreciate you, and I love you all from the fullness of my heart. Thank you all for your generosity and your powerful yes to serving this spiritual community in exactly that way. So thank you very much. Speaking of thank you, I would like to thank Barbara Kane for her lovely meditation that really expanded and deepened the container that our service will unfold within. So thank you very much, Babs. And speaking of Babs, let's please welcome her back to the podium.
She's taller than me. Good morning, everyone. The theme for the year 2022 is Living Everyday Wonder. Our theme for the month of June is Body. Reverend Dusty's talk title is The One Body. And I'm going to read this community's purpose statement. This is our reason for being here. Our purpose is to inspire, educate, and empower individuals to experience themselves as the unique and individualized expressions of God, the love intelligence that governs the universe. We are committed to not merely a theoretical understanding of our oneness and unity with God, but to consciously practice this truth in our everyday lives. Through celebration, service, study, and fellowship, we are committed to the transformation of our personal lives and to being a powerful and beneficial presence on the planet with the energy of unconditional love. Simply, we are here for God. And now I'd like to invite you to turn within and open your heart and mind and allow the healing sounds of the crystal bowls to wash over you. Now I'd like to welcome everyone to bring their attention back into their bodies and into the room. The Triangle Center for Spiritual Living honors the diversity and threads of truth that run through all spiritual paths, as represented by this ceremony. Please welcome Susan and Ed Krupa, who will be assisting us this morning. Christianity is the path of Christ consciousness, love, and forgiveness. Buddhism is the path of compassion and understanding. Judaism is the ethical path of living by sacred law. Baha'i is the path of unity and peace. Islam is the path of the submission to the will of God, the highest calling. Confucianism is the path of deliberate tradition. Taoism is the natural way, the path of ultimate reality. Native American practice and shamanic traditions are the paths of primal spirituality. Shintoism is the path of tribal ancestry. Hinduism is the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Science of mind and spirit is the path of the divine principle of love and law. I invite you to rest again as I speak a blessing on our service this morning. So I recognize the magnificent presence of love in this universe, in this moment, that is the creator of us all. I recognize that love moves in as and through everyone and everything, and that it creates for our service today a container which is a container of love, of joy, of light, and of peace. And as such, and from this place of love, light, and peace, I speak a blessing on Reverend Dusty as she brings us delightful, uplifting words of inspiration, self knowledge, joy, purpose, and healing. And I speak a blessing on all the volunteers this morning as they've helped set up this opportunity for us to join together in the one mind and to lift our consciousness. And I speak a blessing on our congregation and its love for each other and for this joyful presence that we call the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. And last but not least, I speak a blessing on Cindy Johnson as she brings her wonderful talent of song and music, which blesses and uplifts us today. And so it is. And now today's reading is from William Walker Atkins, author of New Thought and Its Principles. He says, "There is but one. God's manifestations, apparently innumerable, but in reality, one universal oneness, center and circumference. The rays from the center reach all parts of the circle, high and low, beautiful and hideous, exalted or depraved, all part of the one. Separateness is but an illusion." And so it is. And now, a wonderful treat for everyone. Cindy, I'm so excited to have you here this morning. Cindy Johnson.
I am a child of this universe. The ocean dances at my feet. The wind plays a melody through my hair. I am loved at every turn. I am kissed by Mother Earth. I am a child of this universe. The sun warms me in its embrace. The stars have aligned for me in the sky. I am honored by all life. I am held by Father Time. Every blade of grass, every shaking leaf on a tree every mountain top sings of the glory of God moving through me. I am a child of this universe. Through my breath, all life can breathe. I plant the seed with my every dream. I can love at every turn. Give a kiss to Mother Earth. I am a child of this universe. I greet the God in each and every face. I am a channel for peace to flow. Oh, I honor all of life. Yes, I'm one with Father Time. To every blade of grass, to every shaking leaf on a tree, to every mountain top, I sing of the glory of God moving through all. Moving as me, moving as you, moving.
Absolutely beautiful, Cindy, and the right and perfect song, of course, as always, for today's talk. The theme for the month of June has been body. And the first Sunday, I looked at the analogy of viewing the body as a temple. And the second Sunday, I spoke about loving the body as it is, from the top to the bottom and from the bottom to the top. Having a conscious, positive, and intentional communion from the head to the body and from the body to the head, or from the body to the mind. Today, I'm leaving the conversation that we've been having about the body on the micro level and entering a new conversation about the body on the macro level. So I would love for you to take just a moment and imagine that you are God. You exist before time, before the universe, before there was anything. You have no body, you have no shape, you are just floating in space. You are pure consciousness without form. Imagine that you are God. Nothing exists outside of you. You are everything. You are infinite and unlimited. Now, this is something that is very difficult to comprehend, and so you want to learn a little bit about yourself, about who you are, and about what you're capable of. And so, in order to do that, you begin to create. But of course, because you are everything and you are infinite, you cannot create outside of yourself. You have to create within yourself. It's impossible for something to exist right outside of infinity. There is no outside of infinity. Infinity is infinity. So you begin to create dimensions within yourself, like up and down, or right and left, or hot and cold, or dark and light, so on. Establishing internal reference points which allow you to learn about yourself, but you're not finished. You then begin to create little entities within yourself, and you give these little entities consciousness. Now, these entities or objects are not outside of yourself, they are within you, and in fact, they are you. Thus, the illusion of separation is born. Ultimately, there is no separation, but the illusion of separation at the superficial level has a purpose. Without the illusion of separation, you would not know up from down, or left from right, or hot from cold, or in from out, or light from dark, or here from there. The relative framework is set up perfectly to give rise to experience. Without it, it would be as if nothing existed. There would be no contrast. You could not compare yourself to anything, and therefore you would not even know that you existed. Variety and diversity are extremely important because they assist to differentiate one part of the whole from another part of the whole. Time and space are also important, as Cindy sang about today, so that we can locate things relative to something else. In order for there to be such a thing as pleasure, there must be pain, or the opposite of that, or the absence of pleasure must also exist. Some things can only exist with reference to their polar opposites. Everything in the universe appears in dualities. The singularity has become a plurality. However, at the fundamental level, it's still a singularity. There is only God. At the fundamental level, everything is energy, and we know from quantum physics that all energy in the universe is interconnected with each other. It's impossible to differentiate, really, one thing from another, or one part of the whole from another part of the whole at the fundamental level, because it's ultimately all made of the same stuff. And it all behaves and acts like one big, gigantic organism. Everything influences everything else at the quantum level. Everybody with me so far? For those of us that have taken the CSL's foundation class, we know that we have 10 core concepts in the science of mind. The first core concept says, for those of you that may not have taken foundations or have perhaps forgotten, the first core concept says all creation originates in one source. God is all there is. So in the beginning, God, and out of that God substance came everything else. It really couldn't be any other way because it's the only substance that there was. This essence, this power is in everything and everyone. If God is all there is, then absolutely everything and everyone is an incarnation of the one. Nothing or no thing and no one is left out. There is not a spot where God is not. The second core concept of the science of mind says that God is threefold or triune in nature, having three separate aspects or modes of being within the one. I said separate, but I don't mean separate from each other, but they're spirit, soul, and body. So three aspects of the one, three aspects of God. The first aspect of God is spirit, and spirit is the self-knowing, spontaneous, reasoning, and volitional aspect of spirit. It's the guiding idea behind and the cause of everything that exists. It's the word, it's the idea behind the thing in form, right? That's the spirit. Now, the second aspect is the soul, or the universal law. And this is the unformed substance of energy that all things are created out of. It's that soup, that unformed God stuff that exists from which all things are created. The third aspect of God is the body of God, which is all of the individualized expressions of God, everything. Now, we believe that God is the great causative power of everything that exists. It's the energy back of it all. It's the idea behind it all. The word or thought of God eternally initiates this creative process to happen. We use the analogy of the seed and the soil and the plant. So that spirit of God, that first aspect of God is the thought, and that thought is the seed. In this analogy, the thought is the seed. And that thought is released into that aspect of God that is known as the soil or the law, which as the soul or the law, which is the soil, right? So it's released into the soil, and that is that unformed substance. This aspect of God is not volitional like the spirit aspect of God. It simply says, okay, and it creates in form an exact replica of that thought. The manifestation is the body of God, or in this analogy, what we would call the plant. So seed, soil, plant. The word of God means the power of God to bring itself into form. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and it was good, right? So we believe that the manifest universe is the body of God. This is the one body that we are talking about today. The one body, one with a capital O, body with a capital B, the one body. Now, we're not just talking about humans or animals or the planet or the stars or the moon or the plants or the minerals or the mountains or the oceans and the seas, but everything seen and unseen. So that includes all the relationships, all the circumstances, all the situations, everything visible and everything invisible in each and every single arena of our lives. God is all that there is, and therefore everything that is God. Everything seen and unseen. That is that one body of God on the macro level. It's the physical universe and all of the forms, all of the effects, and all of the manifestations that have been created or co-created. It's the visible expressions of the thought of spirit in form. It's the result of a cause of that is set into action by the Word of God. Now, the bottom line is that there is a universal spirit that is the origin of everything. Everything is swimming within that universal mind. Nothing is outside of it. Remember, it's infinite. Nothing can be outside of it. There's that one life that is back of everything, and it includes all things. It's that which breathes us, which animates us, which guides us, which supports us. The universe finds an inlet, both an inlet and an outlet, through all that it creates. The principle of oneness, this idea of this one body, the principle of oneness is the foundation of our teaching. If you've been coming for any length of time, you would have heard this time and time again. It is the foundation of our teaching, the philosophy of the science of mind, faith, and way of life. One power, one presence, one mind, one heart, one life, one body. One body. And yet, while oneness is the truth, it is also true that there is a great multiplicity of manifestations or individualized expressions within the one. We have to be able to hold it both, to hold both of that, because they are both true. Each manifestation is an individualized expression, unique and different from everything else. There's no two individuals, no two animals, no two plants that are exactly alike. Each and every single one of them is unique. We have different cultures and different languages and different religions and different political affiliations and different ways of being in the world. And we even have these physical bodies that make that illusion of separation so strong because they seem so solid and so separating one from the other. You know, on that quantum level, which we can't really see with our naked eye at that quantum level, everything might be the same, and we can't separate one thing from another. But here on Earth, in these physical suits, we look very different. We feel very different. We feel this big separation between us, but in truth, there is no separation. And while it's legitimate to talk about a world of diversity because we see it and because we experience it, it's not the truth spiritually. Albert Einstein says a person experiences life as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical illusion of consciousness. Our task must be to free ourselves from this self-imposed prison and through compassion to find the reality of oneness. There's only one of us here. Hard to comprehend, hard to believe, hard to live from, but that is the spiritual truth. Who we are is pure consciousness of oneness, expressing itself in different forms at different times in our evolution, both individually and collectively. All of these differences seem to separate us. However, the bottom line, right, is that divinity is at the center of all of it. And that through that golden thread of God stuff, that unformed substance in that soul, that middle area, the second aspect of God, connects us one to the other. We are in relationship with all of it, everything within that body of God, because it is what we are, and we are what it is. The only thing that there is, God. Everything is linked one to the other. But herein lies the challenge, right? It's not easy to do. It's not easy to live from that consciousness. It's not easy to comprehend it. We can know intellectually that we are one, but we think we're separate. We've forgotten our oneness. As a result of forgetting, then we create an illusionary world of duality. There's us, there's them. Right? There's boundaries between countries and between people. And this leads to suffering. The Course in Miracles says that the only thing that needs to be healed is our sense of separation. All disagreements, conflict, and wars are due to our mistaken belief that we are separate. All conflicts, disagreements, and wars. It's huge. It's huge to think about. Think about the world today, or really at any given moment in time in history, like a human body in which each and every single cell has decided to work on its own. to just do whatever it wants to, whenever it wants to, as though it were separate from the whole. Each cell consuming as many nutrients and as much energy as it possibly can, even much more than it might need. It wouldn't take long, right? It wouldn't take very long for the parts of the body to get sick. And they would then damage the health of the whole body, including those kind of greedy cells, the ones that went off on their own, right? Now, this is just as true of the planet. When we live as though we are separate from each other and from God and from life, something is going to suffer. Something is going to suffer. Relationships are going to be in conflict. Countries are going to be at war. When we act and live our lives as though we are isolated individuals, we might have the tendency to act out of fear. Or we might have the tendency to act like those greedy cells from an exaggerated materialism that drives us to pursue our own desires without thinking about anybody else, or at all costs, even to the detriment of the whole planet. All conflict and disease comes from a sense of separation. All healing comes from awareness of our oneness and reconciling ourselves and our lives with that truth. When we live our lives from a deeply grounded awareness of our oneness with everything and everyone on the planet, we empower our relationships. We improve our social, political, and professional environments. We heal the planet. Can you imagine that? We could heal the planet and be a beacon of light for everyone. The moment that we accept individually and collectively that God is all that there is and we are one with it, then we become a liberating force for good on the planet. We become that. The invitation is to begin today to take our intellectual awareness and to reflect upon it through our spiritual practices, like meditation or prayer or visioning, in order to allow it to deepen, in order to allow it to expand, in order to allow it to drop down into our hearts. To take that journey from our head into our hearts, sometimes the longest journey that we will ever take in our lives. We have to know with our whole being that there is only one thing happening here. One intelligence, one power, one presence that is manifesting itself through all things. One presence that is revealing a multiplicity of diverse, individualized expressions. There has to be a radical shift in consciousness for each and every single one of us, both individually and collectively as the human race. A shift in consciousness from the consciousness that got us here to this place, to the world as it is today, to the recognition and awareness that we are fundamentally one interconnected family, one interconnected world. There has to be a radical shift in consciousness from the consciousness that got us to the place where the world appears as it is now, to a world that is awakening to its spiritual magnificence. For too long, we have been looking at each other and the world through our own particular lenses, the lenses of our upbringing or our cultures or our races or our religions or our experiences or our perceptions or our biases or our judgments. The lenses through which we very often see only chaos, or we very often see only separation and conflict and war. In order for us to truly embrace oneness, all of these ideas have to fall to the wayside. We have to loosen our grip on all of those lenses. Yes, there are things going on in the world right now, truly. There are things going on in the world that as we look out at it, everything within us is screaming that this is not good, that this is not right. But if we were to remember that God is all that there is and that oneness is the truth of the universe, could we step back? Could we step back and see the bigger picture through that lens of oneness? And if we did, what would happen? What could we actually co-create with each other and with the divine? It can be challenging to apply and to live from this concept of oneness. But God is either all that there is, all that is happening, or it's nothing at all. It can't be both. It can't be a little bit of God over here and a little bit of God over there. It's God is everywhere in its fullness and in its wholeness. It can't be any other way. God is God. It's nature to be whole, perfect, and complete, and to be present everywhere at all times in its fullness. So since it can't be a little bit over here or a little bit over there, and I believe that God is, then it has to be everywhere in its fullness. It's a radical idea, but I believe that if we were to actually live by it, then we would be able to see some radical results. And that change could actually happen on the planet in a really powerful and wonderful way. The invitation is to see the face of God in everything and everyone, to realize and implement oneness in all of our choices and in all of our actions. Doing that is actually one of the best ways, if not the most important way, to actually affect change. We can't just affect change by moving around the players or the pieces on it like a chessboard. It has to happen from within. We have to change the context of the way that we are living our lives. To do so is an act of love, and love is the greatest, most powerful underlying force on the planet. Truly it is. It would behoove us as individuals and as the whole of the human race to spiritually mature and to take responsibility for our shared experience from the truth of our oneness. The idea that there is one body needs to be our basic thinking and our basic understanding. It needs to be the context from which we can make most, if not all, of the choices that we make in our lives. And I believe that when we do so, we will create a world that works for everyone. So in this moment, I invite everyone to please close your outer eyes and to turn within. For a moment of prayer, a prayer that is both part sharing and part prayer, a prayer that is perhaps addressing the elephant that is in the room, whether you're here or at home or anywhere else on the planet today. It is an opportunity to acknowledge the individual and collective pain and anger that is currently being felt within the one body. An opportunity to acknowledge the complex emotions that we are currently encountering with our families and communities that go with grieving a loss, and the underlying presence of a sense of fear and dread that there is more to come. Our CSL spiritual director, Reverend Dr. Edward Vilhune, in an article called "With Sorrow for the Loss of Constitutional Protection," says, Reproductive rights remain a highly polarized issue, with many differing points of view within each family and spiritual community. Centers for Spiritual Living's North Star is our global vision, our organizational shared values, and our Science of Mind statement of belief, all of which speak directly to liberty, equity, equality, inclusion, human rights, compassion, safety, self-determination, and spiritual living. For that reason, we are unambiguously in support of the lives of Black, Indigenous, and people of color, unambiguously in support of gender equality and equity, unambiguously in support of LGBTQI plus lives, and unambiguously in support of women being sole decision makers about their lives, well-being, dignity, and choices. I believe that the underlying truth is that it is spiritually appropriate for us to be unequivocally in favor of the rights of all people and to hold this front and center in our minds and hearts and consciousness. That it is spiritually appropriate for us to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that even in this moment of time and even in this ruling, the presence of the divine is present. And that if we were able to take a step back and to look at the view through the eyes of God, we may be able to catch a glimpse of the possibility of something good coming out of it. That we may be able to remember the idea that in God, in the end, all things are good. So that if it doesn't feel so good in this moment, it simply means that it is not the end. The invitation is for each and every single one of us to know that it is important to feel our feelings individually and collectively, and to also allow the moment and our feelings to propel us into actions that our inner divine wisdom is calling us to do. The invitation is for each and every single one of us to know that it is important to feel our feelings individually and collectively, and to do the inner work to heal them. The invitation is for each and every one of us to know how important it is to feel our feelings individually and collectively, and to remember that where we place our attention draws more of the same into our experience. The invitation is not an invitation to brush our feelings under a rug with spiritual bypass, but to feel our feelings so that we do not get stuck in them. Michelle Obama said, "In this country, our futures are tied together in a delicate tapestry that we each have had a hand in making." Too often, cynicism or indifference makes us feel like we don't have a say in weaving it, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The more we allow pessimism to push us further into helplessness, the less we will be empowered to help create the kind of country we want to live in. She added, "Our hearts may be broken today, but tomorrow we've got to get up and find the courage to keep working towards creating the most just America that we all deserve." We have so much left to push for, to rally for, to speak for, and I know that we can do this together. The invitation is for each and every single one of us to know that it is important to feel our feelings individually and collectively, and to lean into our Science of Mind principles and practices to inform us and to guide us and to support us as we keep working towards co-creating a world that works for everyone. The invitation is for each of us that may be struggling with a traumatic response to the Supreme Court's ruling or anything else that may be up for us, to reach out for support from our ministers and practitioners and spiritual communities for prayer or other resources that may be available. The invitation is for each of us to also check in with each other, knowing that we are all interconnected, part of the one body, tasked with loving each other unconditionally. In this moment, I declare that there is a way that we can be with each other in this one body, in which we truly see one another, really listen to one another, really honor one another, really appreciate one another with all our diversity, knowing that we are all one. In this moment, I affirm the presence of the divine is right here in its fullness and in its wholeness, and claim ease and grace for each of us in tapping into and aligning with its wisdom. I'm grateful for this interconnectedness, for the golden thread of love that weaves itself through us and as us, and grateful for the power of prayer, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that only ever says yes, that my words are clothed in form even as they are spoken. And so I speak them and I release them into that law, letting go and letting God be God. And I invite each of us to anchor this prayer for ourselves, for each other, for our spiritual community, the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living, and for the world, simply by saying, and so it is. And so it is. Amen. Amen. Thank you all so very much. It is now time for our conscious giving. It is that time each week when we take the time to share of our treasures, to assist this community continue to be a beacon of light and love and warmth in the Greater Triangle area. Knowing that our gifts prosper this community and the one that are doing the giving, and that we add to the experience of sufficiency on the planet because of it. So I'm grateful, so grateful for each and every single person in this community for the generous giving of your time, talent, and treasure, and for these particular gifts that you're giving today. I invite you to take your hand with your gift or with an intention and place it on your heart, and we will do our offering affirmation as a call and response. I live in an abundant universe that blesses and prospers my life. I give with gratitude, knowing that God is my source. And so it is. So it is. Thank you all so very much. And now please welcome back to her piano, the amazing Cindy Johnson.
Thank you. There's a rainbow over my shoulder. There's a new world under my feet. And the darker the clouds that surround us, the brighter the rainbow will be. So I called in all my relations. Every heart has a treasure to bring. We can circle the worst of the weather. Take courage together and sing. Bless these souls that gather round us, singing through the storm. All the colors of the rainbow, each of us keeping us warm. In my dreams I've seen our faces. We are shining from the heart in the circle of embraces, each of us just as we are. And we are coming home again, setting our spirits free. and we are reaching out beyond anything we ever thought that we could be. So bless these hearts and bless our vision. Bless us where we are. Peace on earth is our decision. Starting right here, beginning right here. I'm the rainbow I've waited to see. The circle of peace is complete, starting with me. There's a rainbow over my shoulder. There's a new world under my feet.
Thank you, Cindy. That was really beautiful. I love being a circle of peace. I know you all do too. um, so if anyone would like prayer, please go to the website at trianglecsl.org. On the homepage, there's a button in the upper right-hand corner. Click on that button and fill in the request form. We will get that prayer and send it out to the ministers and the practitioners, and you will be in our thoughts and prayers and treatments. And expect a transformation and a miracle and a healing. If anyone would like to dedicate a flower dedication to anyone for anything, please contact Heather Abbott at info@trianglecsl.org or Reverend Dusty at dustyrippelmeyer@yahoo.com. And the next thing that's coming up on our social calendar for this community, please consider joining us on Saturday, July 16th for a community picnic. The picnic will be held at Lake Wheeler Park, Holly Shelter number 5. Please bring what you'd like to eat or drink and any yard games you'd like to play. We'll have cornhole and board games to play. And there's a concession stand nearby as well. The time is from 9:30 to 12:30, so we can beat the heat that early in the day. And the address is 6404 Lake Wheeler Road in Raleigh. Please RSVP to info@tcsl.org. Please let us know how many people will be attending. And now, in the comfort of your home or here at Sophie's, please stand for our June affirmation. This is a call and response. Let's say it with meaning and repeat after me. My body is not separate from my spiritual life. It is a divinely created, integral part of the kingdom of heaven. As such, it is the house of the divine on earth. As an awe-inspiring manifestation of God, my body is perfect exactly as it is. Today, I dive into the wonder that is my body and consciously choose to treat it kindly. I say yes to becoming friends with it and listening to its voice. Today, I am appreciative of everything it is capable of and affirm that God is as much in the body as it is in the heart.
Today I am appreciative of everything it is capable of and affirm that God is in it as it is in my heart.
Knowing that it is a divine tool that is absolutely vibrating with the flow of Source,
Knowing that it is a divine tool that is absolutely vibrating with the flow of Source.
I use it to feel into the now moment.
I use it to feel into the now moment.
By honoring and loving my body, I have a richer experience of the divine.
By honoring and loving my body, I have a richer experience of the divine.
And so it is.
And so it is.
And now I ask you to close your eyes one more time, and you're welcome to sit if you're still standing as I speak a benediction on the service today. And so here we are, all centers of peace, all parts of this beautiful rainbow, which is the collective, creative thought of God. We are one with each other. We are expressing the truth and the beauty and the joy and the light and the love and the creativity and the abundance that God is in us and through our bodies. And this collective love spreads out to everyone and everything in the universe. And this world is lifted in the knowledge that we are all one. And so I release these words of love into the law that only ever says yes with gratitude. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you all so very much for joining us today. Have a really wonderful week playing with this idea of holding both the truth that there is only God and being really proud of the individual, unique expression that you are of it. And so it is. I love you.